yeah!
Oh yeah! GT,
Let's
baby.
go! Tavern Talk returns. I'm so excited. This song is too long.
It's a long song. It's a long song, man.
That is a long song. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Tavern Talk, our full spoiler show, where we break open the books, crack open our brains, and bring in guests from the community who are going to school us, educate us, and debate with us.
Ryan,
Dan,
what tavern is this that we're about to enter into?
What tavern is this? Oh, remember that? Yeah, this is the Rusted Roots.
The Rusted Roots?
Okay. This is the Rusted Root Tavern. As you look around, it is we are at a base of a large tree. The structure is built around the tree. It has a kind of musty wooden smell to it. The roots are become seats that you sit on. Sometimes they actually become tables you use. This is an incorporated, eco-friendly tavern, and we are all here with paper straws, and we are celebrating nature. Dan, this is the Rest of the Root. Welcome to the Rest of the Root.
Thank you. I've been here before. I recommend that we all get a round of Foggy Cities. They're good.
Oh, okay. Foggy Cities.
City. Yeah, the Foggy City is really good.
Daniel agrees.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about all things Aiel and Rhuidean, right? So we are on chapters 25 through 27 of A Crown of Swords, right? No, Shadow Rising.
Of the Shadow Rising.
Shadow Rising. Fuck, I'm all over the place.
How many shows do you do, Ryan?
Jesus. I'm on I'm way. Yeah, you're right. I'm like on a reread, and then I'm on the show read, and it's all over the place. So yeah, we are on these chapters. Basically, Rand goes to Rhuidean. All hell breaks loose. The story becomes bigger and more wide open than you knew, and we're going to talk about this. This is a full spoiler show, so if you've not read the entire series, please come back, join us on a first-time reader show or watch it, what have you, but please, you've been warned. Full spoilers. Dan, we got guests.
We do. We have our segment with Floaty. We haven't had our friend Floaty on in a long time. We have him on later on. But first of all, let's open this door, let's settle in, and bring our guests in. Special guest.
I mean, look, this production value, you can't shake a stick at.
The leaves move, guys. The leaves are moving.
When you call me production Sedai, you mean it. Oh, hey, everybody. We got
Nice.
Roofmistress Leigh-a and Morgan from Podcast of the Dragon. Luminaries in the field.
Luminaries in the field. Whenever you're in the field, we can see you glow.
Right now, you know that REM song "Standing on the Shoulders of Giants" makes you feel small. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Aww.
Right?
Aww, that's so sweet.
But even though I do have a huge head.
Hi, friends. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Very excited to be here for tonight.
You're welcome. We are talking. We're getting down into it. We're digging into the Threefold Land. We're digging into the Aiel, Rhuidean, and we wanted to have you guys on. Morgan from Podcast of the Dragon, one of the more intellectually based read-throughs of the book. I love each and every episode you do. I still fall asleep to you. If you have one like crazy listener that's like has like 6 hours a night, that's probably me. Like it just happens. I don't know. I just like having. I like hearing your stuff. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Go to take that.
I just want you to whisper in my ears.
That's actually good to know because I actually listen to either Stormlight or one of the Cosmere books or Wheel of Time for my I need to go to sleep, and I've listened to them so many times that it's just something new to listen to. So maybe I'll start putting Morgan on repeat for some.
It is so calming. It is so beautiful. I mean, I hope I'm not embarrassing you, but goddamn, I do it all the time. A few times a week, I'm like, well, I'll just pop to Morgan.
You do have a very calm, soothing voice.
I was just thinking. I was telling my therapist yesterday about one of my favorite old books, a Heinlein book, and I was just thinking about it because one of the characters is an author, and he meets a woman. She's like, "I fall asleep to your books every night," and it says, "Greater praise an author has never had," he said with a straight face.
Nice. Yes. Yes.
One day I'll actually listen to him, but I hear him every night.
This is great. Yeah, worst line ever, Dan.
Hey. With this is it now? End the debate. Is it Leigh-a or Leigh-a?
Leigh-a.
All right, like the princess. All right, so the
like the general, like the general.
Yes, okay, like the general. General Leigh-a.
General Leigh-a, yes.
So artist Anastasia listens to Winter Dragon on loop.
As powerful as Sidine.
Yeah. For fans.
Leigh-a is a part of the group that encompasses the Threefold Talk. Ooh, and there's the ooh, that's a fun logo.
Whoa, merch
with all kinds of other Aiel persons and Rob.
And then also I have a Stormlight Archive Space podcast called Return to Roaster. So not Wheel of Time, but if you've read all of the Stormlight Archives books, come join us. Happy to have you.
I feel like I might have, but I don't know. There's so many.
Suddenly it's like I'm 3 books back, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, and now this guy just wrote 5 more books.
Yeah, what?
Did he acknowledge which ones are Cosmere related and which ones aren't?
There are 3 of the 4 that he's releasing that are Cosmere related, and then the 5th one he wants to hold back just for his kids and his wife for now. So he's not releasing the 5th book yet. And he hasn't said whether that's Cosmere related or not. So, but we've got 3 of the 4 that are Cosmere related.
Wow. Okay.
And not in any of the worlds that we've seen. So it's all new original content. So.
Okay.
And these are the fan purchased. What is it? The Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's the Kickstarter. So there's 17 more days. So the only way to get the books for now is if you do the Kickstarter. There's several tiers. Do you guys want me to go into the whole pitch?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I've done this.
We're Sanderson adjacent. He watches, doesn't he? Hi, Brando.
So there's a couple of different things that you could do depending on how much money you want to spend. So you could get just the ebook, which is the cheapest, and so every quarter you'll get an ebook. Then the next tier up is the ebook and the audiobook. They have not yet picked or officially disclose who's going to be narrating it yet. Apparently all that's still in discussions, but that's the next tier up, and I think that's like $40 for those 2 for 4 books. So again, you can get these super cheap, and then the next tier up is those 2 plus a hardback. So you absolutely won't be able to get the hardback for quite a while if you don't do the Kickstarter. You'll probably be able to. Audiobooks are easy to get anyways. Then the other option is to get a year worth of Kickstarter stuff. So those 3 tiers, and then each month in between, you'll get some sort of special swag. So like Sanderson was saying, like Hoid month or whatever. So you'll get special swag, and so those do start getting up into the hundreds plus dollars. So those are a little bit more expensive, but you'll get exclusive swag.
Hoid month?
Yeah.
Entire Hoid month. I just right then when you were speaking, I imagined Brandon Sanderson as Bernie Sanders saying, "I am once again asking for your support." But it was Sanderson's face.
Yeah, but basically what he's doing is trying to see this whole new experience of printing and selling books, because I think we all know the print industry is kind of just a load of crap. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, how is he circumventing his own publishing agent company? That's what
he wasn't on contract for these, apparently. And so what he's doing is essentially seeing the viability of his own publishing company. He's talked about this for a while.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Breaking records.
As I showed Dan earlier, we just know Tor is terrible because I think I freaked Dan out a little bit because I had the Dragon Reborn cover on my Shadow Horizon.
Yeah.
A picture of it. It's like, wrong book.
Just as a heads up, we're not on that book. We're on the other book. And you're like, oh yeah, I know.
All right, real quickly, Art Anastasio, please destroy chat in the most loving way possible. I feel like you're a little aggressive right now.
All right.
He's hitting us with dad jokes and being like, boom!
Well, hi, Boom. I'm dead.
All right, so here's an example. You know that unagi is the most popular sushi sold in Rhuidean? It's because there's Aiel in it.
That's
and then
good.
he follows it. Right, die chat. Like, that is the killing blow.
All right. Yeah. Keep with the stabs. Keep slowly stabbing the chat. Dance the Spheres. Speaking of Dance the Spheres, did you see that, Ryan?
Did I see the Dance of the Spears?
No, did you see that transition? Speaking of Dance of the Spheres.
That was a great transition. Sorry. It was so smooth I didn't even catch it.
Guys, when we speaking personally, the Aiel is one of the greatest societal creations that exists in Randland. When we first met the Aiel, it turned the book into some sort of weird like fairy tale kind of thing, and you were literally in the middle of the desert with this group, and they are completely different. This is one of my favorite, like these chapters right here where Rand is going through is so awesomely written, so well done. So it just adds to the story of the Aiel culture really well. While still, I don't understand the Aiel culture still. So we're hoping.
Because you're a wetlander, don't worry about it. You're not meant to.
Rand was going through this, looking through the thing, and he's like, oh, wow, yeah, this is pretty cool. He looks over at Couladin's brother, and Ryan, I was doing the faces. He's like, and then he's clawing out his eyes. He's veiled. He's all, he's like just a whimpering, quivering, bloody mess at the end.
Your children walk in. Dad, you're in the garage reading. Your children walk in. You're on the ground on your knees, like going, why?
Blood streaming out my face, pouring out of my sockets. Okay, so is it because I don't really appreciate the Aiel that I don't really see what the big deal is? Why half the people just kill themselves from the knowledge of this whole thing? Ladies, let me if I can throw this to you.
Imagine like the entire something that you hold as a certain truth just finding out that it's the exact opposite, that your entire world that is not the truth of the history of your culture, and it's something so tragic to yourself that you hold as a core foundation. Like, I can imagine, and they're just so proud of this warrior society that they've built up. There's no example that I can think of.
Yeah,
there is no example.
Well, for me, not to be controversial, but the Catholic Church. People are fleeing the Catholic Church in droves because of the sex scandals and just different things that are going on, like all these things that are being uncovered. So that might be a corollary where obviously the doctrine is the opposite of that behavior, and the people who are preaching it are doing horrifying things. So the kind of trust in the underlying girds, the scaffolding of everything they believe in is just like falsified right before the very eyes. So that's the only thing I could think of as a corollary.
Well, I think we're all very kind of adaptive people with kind of like progressive thinking, and so that allows for the ability to take in new ideas and kind of roll with punches and not be so fearful of change. And so you've got to figure that Aiel, who are better able to think outside the box, roll with the punches, be adaptive and open to larger ideas, and have their perceptions shaken, and be willing to face harder truths are the people who will survive Rhuidean, be put into positions of leadership, and just adapt. And so I think it's harder for people who are open-minded to understand what the big deal is, the same as it's hard for me to understand anybody who suffers from some kind of I thought this was true all along and then I learned it wasn't true. I have a hard time empathizing with that because I have a very flexible and open-minded view of the world, and I'm just kind of about most things, and so I think that makes it hard. Whereas obviously the Aiel who can't deal with it are Aiel who have very rigid thinking, and there are people of all stripes and all cultures who have very rigid thinking, and for them, regardless of what it is about your identity, if it's that central to your identity and then you lose it, you struggle.
The Aiel are curious because they seem to be both open-minded and flexible and horrifyingly rigid in their ideas of honor. But for example, when Rand says Matt's coming with me, and all the wise men were like, well, he's bringing change, let's go with it, babies, let's go. That seemed completely out of character, but in the face of Randism, right, they were able to say, fuck it, let's break all the rules and let Matt just wander into Rhuidean. Right, so that seemed to, and they said, "Hey, change is upon us. We must ride the winds of change." I guess, right?
Yeah, but I think that was a special situation. I think if they weren't concerned about Couladin and there being a fight, they would have possibly made a bigger issue out of it. But as it was,
so they're leveraging the politics. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they were really concerned about. Yeah, they specifically said we had to be hasty. We were worried that the Shida would don veils despite the peace of Rhuidean. We were, they had all of this other stuff going on, so they had to work fast, and they were kind of well, he'll probably die in there anyway, so what the fuck, go.
Well, I think they were just in, because of their dreams, I think there was a timeliness to everything as well. They needed him to, as soon as he got there, go in. It's just in addition to the Shido, it just wasn't worth arguing. They'd already dreamed that Rand was going to go and Moraine was going to go right away. So all of this was supposed to happen pretty sequentially. So there just wasn't time to sit there and debate.
Yeah, and because the wise ones are the people who survive Rhuidean, they're people who are flexible and can look at things and step back from culture and be yeah, this is culture, this is what we believe in, but what's practical? And which is why.
What do you think about this notion that Ben's bringing up, that the wise ones are breed above, they're proved to be adaptable and responsible, right? So, do you think the wise ones are more flexible than the average Spear Maiden or Aiel person?
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody who survives Rhuidean is automatically more flexible, because you have to be able to survive and see the truth, and then wise ones even more so because they have to go through the rings first.
So why is there where is this tradition of not saying what you learn in Rhuidean? Why are all the people who go through it and survive, they know this truth, why are they all generally not their mum about it? No one seems to have slipped this shit out. They're all zip.
Well, I think they know that it would just break the clans. So it's a hard truth to accept to begin with. So if the strong people, the strong leaders can't accept it, and we see what happens when Rand tells everyone. So you get the brotherless, you get people just straight up killing themselves, people making themselves guide chain. The Shido go off and do fuck all. It breaks. That's the prophecy that once everybody finds out, it is going to break them.
Or is it that maybe they just understand that the Dragon Reborn is the one to do that? So for them to do that would be them to inappropriately claim Dragon Rebornism status, right? No?
They're actually kind of surprised when Rand comes out and he starts telling them, because they're nobody's supposed to know that. So I don't think that they thought that he would tell them. They knew that he was going to break them somehow. They didn't
somehow, yeah,
blabbing it literally to everyone.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like it's knowledge for people who can go to Rhuidean and survive. And I think it's also maybe something where if it is spread beyond, then people won't know the actual truth, because the moment that you start telling other people, then it's going to change and evolve. And, you know, after a certain point, people won't know what the true story is because, you know, rumors, things change in the growing and in the telling. So,
and I think the way that the columns are set up, the regressive progression, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. Love it.
It's a bit step of a bit step of a bit step that takes them slowly backwards. So if you just come out with a truth, you've missed a whole bunch of context of how they evolved. So if you're like, oh yeah, we used to be like the Tinkers, sort of. So cool, way the leaf.
Yeah.
That loses a whole bunch of context to the story that slowly eases people in. And all that history isn't very important. That's the reason it's in the columns. Keep wanting to say the rings. That's wrong.
Yeah, the columns. Well, can we talk a little bit about Rhuidean itself, the city? Lan is unfamiliar with the city. He's like, I fought the Aiel. There's no city in the clouds. I don't know what you're talking about. So apparently it is kind of a secret place, right? It is consumed in fog or you know, coastal cloud cover, I guess.
Yeah, like Aptos, California.
It's like Aptos. It's like San Francisco in June
at 4 p.m. Yeah.
Is this part of its secrecy? Is that force driven? So this is. I mean, is this a magical fog that we have? Is this and when Rand kind of starts doing weaves in there and eventually lifts the fog, was he breaking a weave? What is that fog? What is Rhuidean? Why is Rhuidean?
Why is Rhuidean? When is Rhuidean? Where?
How?
Yeah, how too?
I'm guessing the fog wall is probably a ter'angreal of some kind. It's something that's maintained by the ter'angreal, and that's also what keeps it from being accessible in the world of dreams. And then,
oh shit, I forgot about that.
The fight that he and Asmodean have that just completely destroys it. They send ter'angreal falling everywhere, so they probably just knock it over or shut it off or whatever. And then,
okay.
We've lost power.
Yeah, it's probably a really uninteresting explanation as to what dissolved it. They literally probably just knocked over or broke or shut off whatever actually maintained the fog wall.
All right, well, Art is saying it's related to the Eye of These World.
The Eyes of These World?
Yeah, it's a spoof.
We
Saturday. Remember Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th?
Yeah, I do remember.
The Eye of These World is Saturday the 14th.
Is it possible that was done as like a protection, not only to confiscate its the ability to see it, but also to kind of be like a wine cooler for these Angreal? Was it like a way to store them in a more temperate area?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's like a protective boundary. Yeah, very possibly.
Because that sun's hot. Yeah, we just bleach it out. So we do see some of the ter'angreal, including the like the rings. We have two versions of rings that we at least know of, and both of them are used as initiations of sort. What similarities and differences do you see between how the Aiel use them and what their experience is versus the White Tower and how the Aes Sedai use them for initiation? I mean, so the wise ones have to run naked. Both are naked when they enter the ring.
Because of course Jordan wants women doing all their ceremonies.
Yeah. Men, cool. Just walk in.
Yeah, they can wear clothes, but the women take it off, get running.
Yeah, they don't even have to run. They just walk.
I mean, but
they're like walking slowly, and they're like, "Holy shit, is that Avienda?"
Meep.
Okay, let's go back real quick. Chat's always got this little delay, but Luke Ace Jedi, which is fucking great. Nice to meet you,
Look,
my
I
friend.
tried.
New friend. In my head, the Terran Grail is a vase on a shelf, and Rand is a cat that knocks on the floor.
Okay. Yeah, that
about
works.
right.
Super
That works
accurate.
for me. And suddenly it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
it's nice out. Where'd our fog go? Pick that thing up. All
Fully
right,
my
now
new headcanon now.
just knock over the fog machine. You ready to rock?
So, when Moraine meets the Aiel for the first time, she goes into this random ass speech where she starts questioning who's the real Aiel, right? Like, she says this straight up. What do you make of that? And I want to bring this also back to Moraine referencing a place of safety in book 1. And it's actually a chapter title, A Place of Safety. Dan and I used to talk to Dan. She said, I'm going to bring you guys to a place of safety. And I remember thinking, that's a fucking lie. And it seemed like she wanted to go to Tar Valon. I'm like, well, Tar Valon is obviously not safe for Rand. So that didn't seem like a true thing. So I'm like wondering if she was referencing something else, because it's the exact same phrase that's being used time and time again in this Rhuidean chapters, a place of safety. The Aiel are looking for a place of safety. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. I think just everybody is at one point or another looking for a place of safety. So I think it's just a happenstance because it's a common phrase used.
Okay.
Moraine definitely does not know anything about Rhuidean, so I don't believe she's referencing Rhuidean at all, because she's shocked that Rand wants to go there. And then she gets this letter from the Wise Ones, and she's just like, well, let's see if this works. But yeah, I don't think she's.
But she goes in there like questioning this, as if she has a hint of a idea about what their true history is.
The Aes Sedai definitely don't know their true history. She's questioning. She's heard the term Gen Aiel, and I think she's curious about why there's Gen Aiel and then other Aiel. So the true Aiel versus.
Yeah, it's just tricky.
That's
a good point. It's just tricky because like that's the exact phrasing Rand hears in Rhuidean is like the true Aiel.
I think she's just curious at this point, and Egwene's there just kind of popping off at the mouth, asking a whole bunch of random questions. Moraine's being kind and letting her do that, like not being like, shut up, accepted. You have no idea what you're talking about. You sound like an idiot. So Moraine starts asking more intelligent questions.
Well, kind of though. So Moraine is like, to me, Moraine is like, she has a translation book and she's in Italy and she's like, excuse me, the Tel'aran'rhiod means world of dreams, but perhaps the unseen world?
Mm-hmm.
And
Go on.
It means one man, but also the man who is an entire people. So she is like doing just the old. She knows the old tongue. She just does not know any of how it is related or any of its usage. She's like, okay, and so Gen Aiel, the true dedicated, but again stronger, perhaps quote the only true dedicated, the only true Aiel. She's like. She's just.
Do you think she's like kind
of
like doing like that to see like micro expressions on?
For sure, it's
right. Is she like a poker player, like trying to see tells?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, so she's trying to put these people on tilt, even though she just met them.
Well, there's also just fishing a little bit, I think, to see what they would say. She doesn't anticipate the Wise Ones being able to talk Aes Sedai on their closed mouthness. She just thinks she's going to these random group of like the knitting circle or something. So, or the women's circle back in Emmons Field. So she thinks that she'll just be able to manipulate them because she's used to it. She's Aes Sedai.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you're just joining us, we are talking all things Aiel and Rhuidean. We're basically covering the Crown of Shadow Rising chapters. The Shadow Rising chapters 25 through 27. Rand in Rhuidean. All things we learned there. So, again, this is a full spoiler chat. If you've not read the entire series, be warned. But we love you.
So Rand goes, as you said, progresses through his regression, going back in time as he steps forward. And we assume that he is looking at his own genealogical family tree, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it possible that Couladin's brother was looking at his family's family tree and just saw that his family was a bunch of assholes?
Just sucks.
And I mean, they're just all Coplins and Congers. And he's like, no, and he's tearing his eyes out and stuff.
I mean, they probably are dickheads on top of, but he'd probably be fine with it, honestly, if he knew his family. Maybe his family's nice, and that's what he's having a problem with.
He's like, fuck, I'm such a dick, and everyone's so nice. So, like, that's a really interesting point, Dan. Is there a genetic component to what you experience Rhuidean?
That's what Rourke says to Rand when Rand asks him about it. Is that I think I saw through my ancestors' eyes and that you saw through yours.
Rourke also does mention that in the limited time, the limited circumstances where he's talked with other clan chiefs, that they seem to have seen something different, which gives him the opinion that everybody sees through their bloodlines. Because it's very apparent that these are all of the people that they see are genetically connected.
So this feels like we're looking at a major flaw in like the machinations of the power structure of the Aiel. So they have access to special knowledge. They alone can survive and carry on the special knowledge. You don't think they can't just sit around and like compare stories and put the puzzle piece together? Like, why are they like? Where is this coming? This idea that mum is the way to go. Where is this coming from? Like, it blows my mind. There's so many like huge flaws in the way these people like organize this shit, and this feels as dumb as like shit the Ace and I do. Like, this is one of the most ineffective ways of being a leader, right?
Right. Knowledge is power in our world, at least, but there it's not. You know.
I always wondered if after the first vision, like timeline wise, after if some of the leaders, the wise ones, or the clan chiefs did start talking about it, and like some crazy stuff happened culturally, and they're like, okay, let's just not talk about this anymore because that was not good.
Yeah.
But that speaks to them as like their character. Like, it seems like there's a weakness in the way it like, right? Like it seems like
even in the visions, the clan chiefs are reacting to, you know, why don't you carry a sword? They're like, because we don't carry swords. It's the rules. And the Gen Aiel just kind of laughs at them. It's like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know why. So
no, but it's unquestioned, right? The same thing happens with the accepted test. Don't talk about it. It's like a mandate. Don't talk. Don't speak a word about what you see.
I think there's a little bit of that initiation ceremony that goes with it. So, like, I've, like frat week. Think about it as frat week. Being told that, like, you can't tell people what Pledge Week is like. So when you go through Pledge Week, you don't have any expectations. You can have that fun surprise. Or the older people can have the fun surprise. Is that a really bad example?
Fun! Yeah. Yeah, alcohol poisoning is fun. Butt chugging is
it's
fun.
like the Easter Bunny. It's like, yeah, let the kids think there's an Easter Bunny. There's no harm.
Oh, wow, you went Easter Bunny. I went forced butt chugging. And you went Easter Bunny. Wow, okay.
Bunny,
Talk about initiation.
We called that, that's what it was called, Ryan. Because when the funnel's in your butt, it looks like it has like a little cottontail.
That's where it all starts.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yep. The umbilical butt.
Here goes the cottontail.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I would never think of the Easter Bunny the same now. I'm not going to be able to eat an Easter Bunny chocolate anymore. Thank you, Brother Dan.
Hey, this is what you get from live entertainment. This is completely improvisational. We have no idea what we're getting at.
That was too funny.
Well done. Guys, I'm loving this conversation. I think people in chat are loving it as well. Morgan, I feel like we've just been like really, really like scattershotting real fast. Do you have something more considered you want to talk about? I want to give you room to talk.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people, like when Jordan was writing and before, people just seem to be better at keeping secrets, or like when you weren't supposed to talk about things, you know, I don't know, our culture has like progressed to the point where it's like it's rude to keep secrets, and it's like it's not funny when people don't have all the information, and it's just nowadays it's harder to understand everybody falling in line with the idea that you just don't tell people stuff, and so it becomes harder and harder for us to relate. But I think it's much more just culturally something that 50 years ago was more understandable, and 100 years ago even more understandable.
Yeah.
Morgan, I think Ryan's point was that it is a detriment to the society, that they would be better off.
Yeah, it's holding them back.
I mean, obviously, but like, when does society, you know, and the things that are detrimental to it and what doesn't make it function right, you know, when does society ever do what's best for it, or what would be logical, or, you know, I mean, that never happens.
So Ryan, I think I'd actually turn this question back on you. So if you think that they openly communicated, what do you think their society should look like in that open communication? Do you think they'd be able to maintain their Aiel-ness after that without having the Tarachon there?
Well, I think it's like, if you ever been in management, right? Like you're like, your job is just to kind of just know things and then communicate out things that you know without explaining what you know. And that's kind of how this works. Like, if you're in like middle management, like these like clansmen, chiefs who or whatever, who go through and like learn the history, they should be able to like have conversations. They should have management meetings away from everybody and be like, holy shit, did you see this? Yeah, I saw this. Oh man, you saw this? Wow, what does this all mean? Put it together. They should be able to have this conversation away from the general public and then like make a considered decision about what to do with it. But they're all like,
I think they've already done that though, and I think that's why they've decided not to tell people, because not knowing it is not like in their daily lives is not detrimental per se.
Yeah.
Also,
well, I mean, if you want to not make real change, if you're not a real leader, like
what's wrong with the Aiel society? There's nothing that they need to change. That previous knowledge is going to help.
Well, they're horrifying people who.
But you're looking at it from your perspective.
You guys brutalize people in ways like, you have no understanding of the world outside of you. You guys are like closed-minded in every way, and you think your way is the best, and you will fucking dominate and take over, and I will have to sit for a year and a day doing bullshit just because you think that's correct, and I just want to fucking play Elden Ring.
You're only talking about the Shido, my friend. So okay. The rest of us Aiel don't do that.
I'm sorry. What clan do you claim?
Hardad.
You're operating in this assumption like the Aiel are like a corporation or something, but they're not. They're a corporation like where half of them kill the other half or something. So it's sort of like expecting them to get together.
No, yeah, it's like Exxon and like Chevron and like all the like oil company, big energy companies like competing. They got little armies. They're doing shit, but
they only go over the Dragon Wall before the book series one time, and that was only 7 of the clans to get revenge, and then 5, once that's done, they go back 5.
All right, so yeah, but I want to argue against this. No offense, Roofmistress, but like you guys, yeah, like you're blaming Western culture for everything wrong with your own society, and like your history says, like, oh my God, we only took up the spear because these, Westerners were stealing our children. These Westerners are raping our women, and then now you're saying, oh, we only go to war because you guys cut down the tree. Yeah, no, like you guys are a bunch of victims.
Yep. We're not victims. We are able to defend and support ourselves. We are able to isolate ourselves from you crazy, dirty wetlanders.
Yes, and, dirty as fuck.
Yes, very, very.
Yeah,
dirty.
look at my.
You don't have buttons and
look
like, getting the water in your own filth. That's really. But everything you said is very accurate. We are not victims, though. We are proponents of our own self-determination.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, like, let's get into. I have some very, very specific questions about the history that Rand uncovers. Right?
Do it.
Why are the Aes Sedai hell bent on the Aiel following the way and staying pacifist? Why are they hell bent on that? It seems like that compulsion, and not compulsion. That like argument that they put on these people, like this covenant, has killed many of them.
Well, we're at that point, we are at Jonai's point of view, and it's not all of, because I actually made a note of this when I was reading through. It's not all the Aes Sedai in the room. Actually, most of them are just arguing about what to do with this crystal sword and the dragon banner. That being said, it's Solinda that comes over talking to Jonai, and it's her personal request to him to please remember the covenant, please remember to keep the way. There's no foretelling that's tied to. It's just her personal request to him. And because the Aiel are obedient to their own personal Aes Sedai, that he continues that. And
what's that about?
Is what some of the other, like, what is Rhuarc's lineage? Like, what does he hear? Maybe does he just hear, like, Jonai come out and say we have to follow the covenant in the way, and just assume that it's a mandate from all the Aes Sedai? That'd be very interesting to me.
Yeah. Morgan?
What was the question?
Sorry. Why
did the Aes Sedai? Why were they? I think probably.
Why do they want them to remain pacifists?
Because everything, like, the world used to be peaceful, and then the whole got drilled in the Dark One's prison, and everything went to shit. And so it's like, if this one thing can stay pure and not be, not fall to the violence, that would be, I think, it's like the one thing that would just not break this Aes Sedai's heart is if they could just save this one thing, from their world. If this one thing could not be spoiled, that would be awesome.
So we're like, are we literally putting the fate of the Aiel on one Aes Sedai's capricious notions about what is best for an entire people's? Is that what we're going on?
Definitively say that, because again, we're just seeing it from one genealogical perspective. Like I said, I think it'd be interesting to see what Rhuarc's ancestor said. Did one of Rhuarc's ancestors have a conversation with their Aes Sedai that said something similar? We don't know.
We can almost assume, though, if he heard contradictory information when Rand came out and was like, "Oh, this is what I know," he'd be like, my VCR says the history
we know that the
different.
Aiel, that the Daishain Aiel all go along with this concept, because eventually there's multiple groups that break off, but they've all agreed. The tens of thousands of them have, in one way or another, agreed to keep the covenant. So it's not that there was contradictory instructions. And we just don't know if there were other Aes Sedai that gave that particular instruction, or if it was just Sandra, not Sandra. What's her name?
So is the dark-eyed Aes Sedai that we meet in the very first kind of like iteration of the story, is the dark-eyed Aes Sedai? Do we know who that is?
I think it's Deendra, but it's never specified.
Okay, now could Deendra, like, what is, okay, I was not picking up on that. I was more like, okay, I'm just guessing. Who could this possibly be? Like, it's how far back is the first vision? Like, is it?
I actually went through. Morgan, I don't know because you're brilliant with the stuff. If you know off the top of your head, how many how much time back it was?
So they started. I don't know.
I did actually because I was curious about this. I actually wrote down all the lineages. So
I thought two things. Yeah, doesn't Lanfear have dark eyes? Isn't she continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's trapped in the floor.
And then, but later on, like people are like accusing Aiel of, right? Like we're like, well, the Forsaken are dead. Lanfear cannot protect you anymore. Remember this whole thing?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So Mandine's the first one, then 4 generations. So let's assume about 20 years between procreation. So that's about 80 years before is Roderick. Then I'm gonna stick with 20 years per generation. So that's 80 years. Somebody online do math for me because I can't math in my head. 40 years before that is
120.
Jordan. 20 years before that is
140.
Lewin. Yeah, so it's 80,
120.
40, 20, then another 40 for Aiden.
160.
Then 20-ish for Janai.
180.
This is where things get a little wonky because Janai in the first vision that we see of him is 68. Or sorry, the second vision, he's 68 and he's in his prime. So then we're probably jumping to like 60 years.
Okay, yeah.
So
220.
we do another 60 years.
Uh-huh.
And then another 60 years.
280.
And then 3 generations of 60, so 180 till the beginning of the visions.
That's 450. I think I'm lost. That's amazing. Okay, so 450, 500 years.
Yeah, so again, look, that's all just rough guesses because these are, great fathers, and so just estimating how long a generation is.
Yeah, but then we go all the way back to the breaking of the world, pre-breaking, or sealing.
The literal breaking of the world.
The sealing of the boar, right? Which is
it's the boar breaking open is the beginning of the visions.
The boar breaking open, not the sealing of them. Oh, so that what we saw was the boar breaking open?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Rand's like, did I see the sealing? But he's actually seeing the breaking?
So Charn is the breaking the boar open. Kuman is the boar being sealed.
Uh-huh.
Which is the second to last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he saw like the big dome, like the black dome, which we will see when they cleanse the taint and destroy Shadow Rogoth, right? This kind of same kind of dome of blackness and power. It felt similar. Did you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean it almost, because it's like talks about like black flecks and things like that. I almost feel like it's a little bit more like the true power, because that's kind of what it is. They were drilling a hole because they're trying to access the true power, and they accidentally poked the hole in the prison instead.
The same black flecks that are the Sa'a.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. That's really cool. Dan, you're back.
I am.
You just missed a lot of math.
I love math.
Brother Ryan do a lot of math on the spot.
Yeah, but then Dan Liu came in and said the Age of Legends people live twice as long, so those generations are longer. Yeah. So our math is cattywampus.
I accounted for that in our little.
Well, I was
beautiful.
Trying to find, because I think that there's a certain point where all of the bloodlines merge, so that Rourke tells Rand, because Rand asks him, what do people see when they go in the columns? And he's like, no 2 clan chiefs I've spoken to have seen anything different until the sharing of water. And then once you get to the point where they're getting the water on the Kyrian lands, like at that point, they're all coming from the same bloodline, and everybody sees the same thing after that.
Interesting.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Because that's pretty quick. The sharing of the water, I think, is the second one we see. Yeah, the second one is Roderick, which is where they're sharing the water. So it merges pretty quickly.
Nice.
Well, and that's actually very, because those all come very quickly sequentially. So the fourth vision is Lewin, which is the creation of the modern day Aiel, who go off and actually accidentally attack people who have raped, stolen and raped their sisters. So we'll just, bypass that entire conversation. Then the next vision where the maidens are created is literally his son's vision, Jordan's vision. And then the next vision is Roderick, which is Jordan's great-grandson.
Okay.
Yeah. So, those all come very quickly, sequentially. And just from Lewin to Jaredem, just within that short generation, they go from 4 to 200, but then and they're already calling it steps. So whether or not there's multiple steps at that point, we don't know.
Why are the Aiel beholden to the Aes Sedai? Did they do something for them to give them toe or G or right? Do they feel toe towards the Aes Sedai?
I'll let Morgan take this one because I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, I think that they worked for them in the Age of Legends, and they tended to be in specific service to different ones. I don't know specifically why. It's never really said why. I'm guessing it was just like a thing of honor or pride, that they just were proud that they did that, and yeah.
Okay. And then we learned there's also like in the Aiel history that male channelers were just sent away, right?
Yeah.
So
they started just leaving pretty early. Either leaving, we see them at one point. It stated that this kid just headed off. Another one jumped off a cliff.
Yeah.
So but I think that whole the knowing that you're a male chandler, that used to be such a prized, coveted thing, turned bad almost literally overnight. So yeah,
the counterstroke. All right, well, I think this is a good time for us to take our 10-minute break. It's mid-show break.
All right,
guys, you guys are killing it. Thank you, Leigh-a. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, chat. Let's stick around. If you have any questions for our guests, please put them in chat. When we come back, hopefully we'll have Floaty, who will give us his thoughts on the chapters. He's our... All right, we're coming back. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. All right. That was music by my friend Iris Fibers. All right.
I've been trying to stick around, Ryan.
You've been trying to? I know. You're doing... Hey. Do your best, my friend.
My wife is currently on the phone to our internet provider right now because it's been an issue all week. I'm like, babe, I just got dropped 4 times. She's like, I'm calling her. So hopefully I'll be around, but if not, fuck, wow, right?
Hey, you made it for the rap session. That's the important part, right?
Thank you. Yeah, here we are. We're doing it. And
all right, so as it's Tavern Talk and it is coming back from our break, we are calling in our friend, not new, Floaty. Time to float. He is waiting in the background. Dan, I'm looking for his banner. There it is. Let's bring in our friend Floaty. All right, so what we're gonna do is just get hey. Is he there?
What?
Floaty, hey, there he is. Floaty has been giving us, he has a blog where he talks about his thoughts on the books, and he gives us his thoughts on the chapters we're discussing. Floaty, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We lost Brother Dan. All right, so you got 10 minutes. What are the key points that you think about when you are thinking about these chapters? What do you got going on?
Okay, so chapter 24, we're Rhuidean. We see the 3 unclothed women Rand sees with the fountain.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm thinking that they're referring to barreling men in Avienda from the vision with the graves, with Rand being dead or whatever, from whatever book that was.
Uh-huh. Nice. Okay.
And then, let's see. And then when Matt goes through the doorway in Rhuidean,
uh-huh,
he's just having a rough time.
Yeah. Totally rough time. Why do you think this place is different than the first time he went through the doorways?
Probably, perhaps, it's, meant for the Aiel, not meant for, somebody like him, per se.
Oh,
and it was,
okay.
Reacting differently to, when he went through it versus Rand, seeing the memories.
So do you think Aiel will go through that doorway when they go to Rhuidean, or is it,
I think it's, the same one, kind of, sort of, but, they have different effects depending on who goes through it.
Okay.
Whereas Rand went through the pillars, and since he's an Aiel, but then Matt went somewhere else, since he's not part Aiel or whatever.
Well, he kind of just happened to find this doorway. It's kind of almost hidden, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But they told him to go to Rhuidean, right? The first time he went through the doorway. So, do you think they were telling him to go to Rhuidean to then go through the doorways again?
Oh, that gives me another idea. They could have been baiting him.
Okay, nice.
So, the snakes could have had coordination with the foxes to, maybe they kind of were coordinating how to kill him?
Okay, snakes and foxes, nice. Beautiful. I like that. But, of course, Rand gets out of it somehow.
Yes.
That's so cool. Now, what do you think about Rand going through what he went through?
With the memories, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was amazing.
Did that blow your mind?
It did, actually. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on.
Uh-huh.
And I was okay, they're going back in time to the very beginning.
Yeah, so they went back to before the breaking of the world.
Right, exactly.
What did you think of the world that they were in before the breaking?
It was much more peaceful until
Luce
there and broke the world.
Douche.
I said I was trusted, everything was great. And then it went to shit hitting the fan.
And then
hello, Floaty. Sorry,
hello.
I'm fighting tech. Gosh darn it.
You're doing what you can.
Man. It's been a long time. I am. Thank you for
a good 12 weeks.
It's been 12 weeks.
Yes, I've been keeping track.
I believe it.
Ryan.
I believe it. No, Brother Dan, we've not had Tavern Talk in many, many months. We did show stuff, and then we've just been watching Airy, Watch You Feeling, and I know, this is our first.
And look how tall he is now, Ryan.
I know, he's all grown up.
And then a few specific points brought my attention from the dream, from the visions, memories or whatever. So, when we see how the first Maiden of the Spear was created, I was like, what the heck? This is great.
Right?
And then at first it was like, okay, this is a male society, and then later they're like, okay, we're gonna get some females.
And don't you
later.
just love how they just ran with it? They're like, okay, cool, not a problem. There wasn't
pretty much
hesitation.
Wait,
And
Dan,
then
what's the phrase? There's a phrase. He said, well, there's a time for everything, right? Something like that.
And then, like, one part that bothered me was how they treated Morin, being like, oh, you need a shield to protect yourself. And I'm like, does she really? Or are they trying to treat her like she's lower than they are?
Well,
for being a woman?
Do they not use shields, or do they use shields?
At the time,
do what?
Oh, I was gonna say at the time they were using long spears, and he cut the spear shorter for her because she was shorter. So just for leverage purposes.
And he also says, "I'm gonna have to get you a shield." That's kind of the genesis of them starting to use shields as well.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
But then at the time, it made me think, okay, they're thinking she's lower than they are because she's a woman. She doesn't belong in their society at that point.
Uh-huh.
That could be, yeah. But it could also be seen, perhaps, Floaty, that they were adapting to... all right, that spear was just too big.
Right.
Let's cut the spear and get you a shield and
right.
you're good to go. I mean...
It could be both, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ryan, this gets to the entire conversation. You were saying, like, Lewin says this, like, awesome quote. I found it. It says, there is a first time for all things, so be it.
So be it. Now, if you amen in the Bible translates into so be it. Right? Yeah. Which is that's amazing. So he almost is like, yeah, there's a first time for everything. Amen.
First time for women, first time for these new spears and shields. Amen.
So that kind of speaks back to this idea that the Aiel are somehow oddly flexible, even though they're like the most rigid people in the world.
Weren't they the ones that didn't want change or whatever?
Right, yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we're adapting, but I'm like, but what we know them as, they don't want change. So I was like, okay, this is new.
No, they become quite the opposite, from pacifist to like one of the most violent, like, you talking to me? You talking to me?
But then, like, when
you talking to me?
We learned that they were first the way of the Leigh, and then they turned into the Aiel, I'm just like, okay, this is significantly different than what they used to be.
Yeah, but don't you still have the Gen Aiel through all of these that do stay rigid and stick to the
Yes.
And do the Jinn become the Shadow?
Yes. No.
Did the Jinn become the Stoned Dogs?
No. Are you doing this on purpose?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, you know me, bro.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's hit your notes some more.
Okay, so then
great, Floaty.
Going back to the memory with Charlin trying to save his sister from being captured.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, I see why he's trying to save his daughter, or her sister or whatever. But then, like, the fact that he dies trying to save her, I feel like it's just quite beautiful that he went that far and was that determined to try to save her, whether it meant him getting killed or him saving her.
Would you do the same?
It would have to depend.
Like, so Floaty, let's talk about this. I know, like,
I love that brutal honesty.
Well,
I'm being honest.
I mean, like, there's a great storyline and there's a great, like, history and so much emotion, but what we're also looking at is, like, real life arguments against pacifism. Like, they're a pacifist culture and he's throwing everything at him. Your loved ones are getting taken. They're getting brutalized. Your wife is dead in your arms. Like, how far are you going to take your beliefs?
Exactly.
Right? And they break. The world's too much for that, right?
Yep.
Right.
And then
it's not just the world, though. At this point, though, this is a very particularly tumultuous point in the world.
Right.
Is this so this is what, post-breaking, reconstitution?
This is during the breaking. Like, probably just post-breaking.
Like, everyone's kind of reconstituting, like.
but it's still chaos. There's no official lands.
And then I had another point from this chapter. So the fact that they were killing to try to save the sister, I felt was very situational from what the mom was doing it as. Because she just saw that, they were killing. They're bad. They need to be exiled. But she didn't let him explain why they were killing, and the fact that it was either them or they kill them or they get killed by them. And I was just like, that bothered me quite a bit.
Well, well, to that argument though, they put themselves in that situation. Like, so these are extremely pacifist. Like, you're supposed to run. If something happens, you are supposed to run.
But they were like, no, we're gonna fight.
Yeah. So it's almost like at any point, like the details don't matter. Once you decide to fight, like, you're breaking that.
Right.
Like, let's just run and regroup.
Right.
So, do you believe in pacifism, Floaty?
What is that again?
Pacifism, non-violence. What do you think? Would you take up the spear, or would you follow the way?
I would take the spear.
Fuck.
What?
Well, this is the way of the Leaf channel.
You asked me. You asked my opinion.
I want the truth. I imagine everyone in the chat would say the same. Like, once it comes down to your loved ones, and in my personal life, I'm a pacifist until it comes to my family. And then I'm a brutalist.
Yeah, she'd be a great one to have that conversation with.
Wait, who's this?
Shelley Wiseman.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a pacifist.
I have one last point from this chapter. Okay, so the fact that they were starting was the Way of the Leaf the Aiel, or did they change into the Aiel from the Way of the Leaf?
They've always been the Aiel, and they follow the Way.
Okay, so it wasn't like two separate things. Okay.
Yeah. The Way is a belief, and the Aiel are people.
Okay.
And now that the people who follow the Way are now just called the Tuathalan.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of, like, and that's a lot of the interesting details of this timeline in history is we do see where various factions break off. So the Gen Aiel are the ones that maintain that purity line from the very beginning, that maintain the original covenant. The Tuathalan, the Tinkers, do break off, so they still follow the Way of the Leaf. They're just not following the dictation of the Ice Guys to go find this place of refuge that will perpetuate something in the future.
Yeah.
And then you get the Aiel, what we call the modern Aiel that we that we love and know, Gaul, Bane and Chia, those are the ones who you kind of follow through the first stories.
They're great, by the way.
Yeah, so you basically get three storylines, three
creatures
in these two chapters, which is wonderful.
It is.
Super cool. All right, Floaty, we got to wrap up. Any last thoughts?
From 26. The fact that we see Meriden gouging his eyes out?
Yeah.
For not being able to, I assume, handle what he was seeing through the pillars that Rain was taking just greatly? Or then that makes me think, did he see something completely different than what Rand saw?
Oh, good question.
Or was it the same thing? Or he just couldn't handle what he was seeing? Or
what do you think it is? Do you think what do you think is behind what people think? Does everyone see the same movie or is it
I just thought of something.
Tell me.
Like, it could perhaps be like due to like what they've done previously in their life to like impact what they're seeing.
Ooh.
Like, and if they're like a good person or not, would it depend on like what they've done? For example, if they like kill people, then they would see something completely different than another person or something.
So it's kind of like Santa Claus. Like, you either get a toy or you get coal.
Yeah. So like going in there is more like a test of character, like whether you're like
or
you
it
have
could
honor.
deal with the betrayals that they've committed previously or something. Can I say a few quick things about my current theories and what I've so far read?
Yeah.
Since I'm so far ahead of y'all.
No. Don't go ahead. Don't go ahead.
Dang it!
All right. Don't go ahead. Stick with us.
I'm trying so hard.
All right, buddy. This has been amazing. Do you want to tell everyone what your blog is?
Ah!
It's it. Okay, your blog is your link is in the description.
Yes.
All right, yes. And what chapter are you currently on?
I'm in the middle of 52 with Parrot and Aiel and all of them in the Two Rivers.
Awesome. That's some good stuff.
And I have a good idea what's going to happen later that chapter from what's going on between them two so far.
A little bonk shika wah wah.
You want to say?
He really wants to say it.
I want to!
All right, spoilers from chapter 52. Go, Floaty.
Okay, so I think they're going to get married.
Okay.
Based on the two of their interactions, how they're finally becoming something versus she trying to argue with him or tell him what to do.
Well done. Awesome. Well, read and find out, my friend.
Chico is a scary place.
Yes. Yeah. It's like Long Beach. It's like Compton.
What can I say? One more thing. I'm sorry.
One more, and then we gotta go.
Okay, so when Elaine and all of them see the things in Chico that Leandrin wants, I'm like, okay, that makes me think that they were wanting to collar him like they did to Elaine, to Rand, but then that makes me think, well, who is actually in charge? Is it Moradin, or is she Leandrin working for Moradin, or is Leandrin her own person in this scenario? Since Moradin is in charge of Chico at this point.
Okay. Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah. No, isn't it amazing? Are you having a good time, Floaty?
I am actually. I have about 96 more pages.
All right, super exciting.
It's getting amazing.
So
right.
did we actually, Floaty, did we get to talk about the stone doorway Terangrial? Because I think we're going to jump into that after that. So
which chapter was that?
That was when Matt went into the stone doorway Terangrial, chapter 24.
Was that before these chapters?
It was called Rhuidean was the chapter.
I thought we just covered that one.
We did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
right,
we're wrapping up, Brother Dan. All right,
Okay,
Floaty, we'll see you next time we do Tavern Talk.
Will that be this Sunday or the Sunday after that?
We never know. We'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
have a good rest of y'all's night, guys.
Thanks,
all right,
bye.
have a great one. Follow the way.
I don't like to brag. I don't mean to gloat, but that was our friend, the way of the float.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
He's
Dan
got
Lou
some great
says
insight.
it's never 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Did we talk about the doorway at all while I was gone, Ryan?
Nope.
Not really.
Nope.
You guys wanna?
I want to talk.
I
make
would
some
love
boxes.
to.
Well, we have the doorway, but we see like that they're just kind of carrying in the doorway, and they're ransacking their reserves and right? Is that when we first see the doorway? Is in Rand's vision of them like in the history?
No, we see Matt goes through the doorway and has everything happen to him before we see Rand's vision.
No, I'm sorry. So yeah. Chronologically in the books, but like historically, that's the first time, right? Like that's way in the past.
I mean,
the doorway. Okay.
Yes, yeah. We see the door fall out of a crate and crash. And one of the things that we don't know which doorway it is, because I tried to make sure to pay attention, and I got excited about the next thing, whether or not you see the triangles or the wavy lines to see which doorway it was, because otherwise they're completely identical. Maybe the doorway that crashed and fell out is the one that ended up in Tyr.
Ooh, in Tyr? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought. Oh,
It's
okay.
possible.
Interesting. Okay. Like my first thoughts were like it was just, yeah, like square hole, square peg. Like it's in Rhuidean, it's with the people. And
they do lose a lot. I mean, they lose the vast majority of the wagons that have all the tour plants and all of the Ongrail, Terrangrail, Songgrail. They lose so much, and I think that's how a lot of the stuff just ended up scattered. So again, it's unclear which particular door that was. We do know there's only 2.
Now let's get crazy. So we have history of this doorway, right? And it's gone through quite a story. We don't even know like the whole history of it, but we do know that Rand needed to enter this doorway at a certain time in his life.
Are you talking about the tier or the
both?
Well, Rand doesn't enter this one. Rand doesn't enter the one in.
No, Rhuidean. The one in Rhuidean. So yeah, like he needed to go through Rhuidean, and he needed to learn this to fulfill the prophecy, to come in and break the Aiel, all of that, right? When we
you're talking about the columns.
The columns in the doorway are different.
My bad. All right, shit. Fuck.
That's why I was confused. I was like,
all right, yeah. So basically, he goes to the columns, right?
Well, yeah, and he goes to the columns to get marked according to the Rhuidean. Morgan, how do I say that? That's how he gets the double dragon. So he's marked twice by the herons and then marked twice by the dragons, and that's yeah. I guess like Matt has to go through the columns, so Matt is destined somehow to go through the columns. Right? Like Matt does not go through the columns. No, the doorway, the archway. So here's my question though. Here's my question. Dan, what did I miss? Why don't you lose some internet, Dan? I was doing great without you. Okay. All right, so my big question is, what we're looking at, I know, it's all good. What we're looking at is things needed to happen for things to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. And there is a cause and effect of like time that leads up to the moment where Rand needs to be doing the things that he's doing to fulfill X, Y, Z. And what we're learning is that historically these things have lined up for this to happen. What I'm asking you, is this all random? Or are we talking about a bigger system where things are predetermined on a bigger level, on a grander level? Not a granular level, but the grand level where things have to line up and that forces are compelling actions to happen. Like, so how much... When I read this, I think, this for me leads to a completely predetermined world, right? This is what I feel is happening for everything to line up. The more I hear about history, right, it feels like we're just looking at a predeterminist world. Have you ever? What do you guys think about this idea? Morgan, go ahead.
Well. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the world is designed in such a way that there is enough room or flexibility where to say things are predetermined is a little bit too rigid or too specific. I feel like the pattern is designed in such a way where if things go too far, swing too far outside of what would be like parameters of determination, then things like Tavern, are spun into existence in order to kind of, tie things along a path. But it's like, to be predetermination implies very rigid steps or plots, and the world isn't like that because you're given to different choices being allowed, and the potential for each time this happens, it plays out again and again in a different way. So I don't know that I would say predetermination exactly.
Could it be like a limited, like a Tavern pull that like lasts beyond a lifetime? Like, does Tavern, could Rand's Tavern actually be historical? Like an epigenetic Tavernist that right, that compels things to happen to get to the point where when he is born, everything is lined up for him.
So I think even when he's born, not everything's lined up. Like, it's very clear even throughout these stories that he will be born and he will be the dragon, but even then it's unclear whether or not the dragon's going to succumb to evil. So I think ultimately predestination is there might be limited predestination, but all of the paths that could have led there was just all these different iterations that could have potentially led to Rand still being born. And even though we went down this one particular path, and I think that's where the portal worlds become a very interesting concept. How close are some of those that are still alive and active? That in they're living these parallel arc worlds. So let's just speak about the one world, because we get into the multiverse concept and shit goes wonky, as we learned in Spider-Man. That being said, I don't. Even foretellings are just so vague. They're specific enough to know that one major thing's gonna happen, but that whole discussion that we see that John Dane is in, and I said arguing like, can't you be more specific? And the one is like, I can't. Like, it's just that I can't tell you when. I can't tell you any more details. Like, this is it. And then even later in that vision, he goes to his wife, who's a dreamer, and he's like, "Is all well?" She's like, "Not for a while, it won't be, but since you're the shade of my heart, everything's fine with us." So it's just like all of these visions, everything, they know something's going to happen. They don't know particularly when, for the most part. It's enough to give people direction, but it's also enough, even men's visions are enough to leave a lot of flexibility.
So, okay, and I'm glad that you mentioned men, because the way that I see men's visions are, the way that I visualize it is, let's say that she is starting to just kind of flip a book and suddenly it just stops on something and she sees a sentence that says, he gets his head cut or something like that. But that still indicates that the book is written and she is just like leafing through and getting images of what will happen.
Well, and for the most part, she doesn't know when or where or how. She's just like, I just know those two are going to get married. And they might hate each other right now, and I'm going to go warn them, and something about me going to warn them. She's like, I can do everything I can to stop it. I can do everything to, like, keep my hands off, and it's regardless, it's going to happen, no matter how much I try to force the situation.
So what does that say about the nature of the world that Robert is building? So I want to go back to some of you're saying. I felt like you almost got to a
limited predestination.
Well, you almost got to a point where I believe that everything that is Tavern is predetermined. Rand is predetermining the world around him, but he himself is a free individiul. And he is more free as he becomes like Jesus Rand. And at the very, very end, it does like the ultimate act of free will.
Well, using Rand as the example of predetermination, and the equivalency between predetermination and Tavern is actually kind of forcing the point, because there's so much predetermined about the Dragon Reborn that you almost just kind of force a false equivalency. So you might want to use someone more like, we've got two others right there that are actually named, but then you could also use somebody like Nynaeve or Egwene, who are headcanon Tavern, where there's not all these prophecies necessarily written around them, that they are, yes, changing stuff around them, but there's not a lot that's necessarily predetermined. So, for example, Perrin has both the Hawk and the Falcon. He could have probably gone with either one of them, and they probably still would have, one way or another, like, been major factors in his life. Like, he had the Hawk and the Falcon in his life regardless. There wasn't enough of a foretelling in that to say anything besides you're going to have these two important. They're both females. So Min says, "Good luck with that."
Yeah, right.
But Rand,
a very beautiful woman, the most beautiful woman. Stay away from her.
But Rand himself, I would argue, has almost no say. He down to who he will marry, down to where he is born. He goes to Rhuidean because he kind of has this basic understanding, but he doesn't know he's going to get marked with dragon. When he comes down, he doesn't understand that.
There's so much vagueness about all of those prophecies. And Morgan, please cut in. I know I'm like just chatting away. But I think there's enough vagueness with what Min sees, what the prophecies say. We see it as very specific for those of us. I mean, most of us have read the books multiple times. We're like, oh yeah. I mean, it's so obvious that he was going to Rhuidean. It was not obvious.
Nope.
Like he didn't know any of those. There were no flashing Vegas signs saying, "Come get your dragon tattoos right here." So
right, and yet,
but they knew he was coming.
Prophesized.
But they knew he was coming.
Yeah, and it was prophesized.
But it doesn't say when, where, how. He could have done that after he'd gone and conquered Ilion and most of the wetlands, and then eventually gone back. It could have been in any order, and I think all of that would have changed how things are interacted. So yes, it's very like there are things that he had to do. How and when and where he did them, and what the ultimate outcome of all of that would have been. Like that's why I think it's limited predestination. There were certain markers he had to do. But that being said, and I think we even go back and look at the prophecies right now, and we're just like, yeah, not sure what that meant. Like, did he fulfill those in a way that we just didn't know, or was that somewhere else, or was that off screen? Like everything that Jordan just set it up so brilliantly that because the Aes Sedai are saying the whole time, multiple of the scholars are saying like prophecies are just limited foretellings. Foretellings and men's viewing had to come true. Prophecies aren't necessarily like we don't get an indication that they are foretellings. It's just like things that they think. Maybe they're dreams. Dreams, like those uninterpretable things.
We've heard that we've learned that prophecy is even fallible, right? Doesn't the Shanshin prophecy is like corrupted by a Forsaken, right? Mm-hmm. So your prophecy alone could be like tainted or manipulated through the dint of time or bad intentions.
Or is it misinterpreted? Like, is it written in a different language that it gets misinterpreted over time?
Which is what Moraine starts bringing up with the old tongue. So Beth Weston says, disagree, Brother Dan, all the lies, flicker, flicker, flicker. So I want to actually say I actually agree with Dan. I think all the flicker, flicker lives are like, is there to tell us why this specific story is special and important. Right?
I interpret the flicker lives as him getting snap views of his lives, the multiverse, the lives that are possible.
Correct. Right. That butterfly effect.
So Beth, I don't agree with Dan that Rand had no choice. I think Rand is a free agent. Rand has through his own work has been able to transcend everything and became a free agent towards the end of the books. And then when he battled the Dark One and pulled the Dark One into the pattern, that was an act of free will. And then he chose to continue humanity.
Yeah, and that's where we disagree. I think that every third age, this is what the dragon does. He faces this thing and he always agrees.
Nope.
This is where we disagree. I mean, if the third age reoccurs over and over again, then the dragon, Rand, or whoever that avatar is, has to face this dilemma over and over again.
No, but
I think that at least so far, the dragon has always chosen to not break the wheel.
But we also know that change is accelerated with each turning of the wheel. Right, so that's another thing we know, that like there's more change the further we get. Is that right? Am I right? That's one of the fundamentals we learn is that as the ages come and go, more like there's more change, and what we're looking at in this age is like rapid.
I don't remember that.
Okay, chat.
Yeah, I thought RJ said that there were minor changes. But in the third age, we would always get to the moon. For
No, that's
instance,
why
or
I've
whatever,
always. But that's why.
But it would be a different person, perhaps, or a different name. But we would always do that. We would always do this.
See, now you're talking about the lace, the lace versus
the lace age. Yeah.
So, well, I'm saying the first age is always beautiful. The second age is always a downer, and the third age is always a rebuild. Kind of.
Like topic
I think that's
do a little research and do another podcast because right
Does
now
that work?
That
break it down?
That's wild.
Or whatever.
Once you start getting into like the ages and the different iterations, like I always like hearing other people's opinions, and like Morgan, I don't know if you have an opinion, because all of that gets into some of these very nuanced comments that are in the book, and then stuff that Jordan has said at readings or cons or whatever. So like kind of the bigger picture. It's not all transparent necessarily from the books. So, and I didn't research that for tonight.
No, I appreciate it.
No, and we're dropping wallops. Like these are like crazy,
we're
like
boulders.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Way of the Leaf. We think about this shit all crazy. Like, earlier, like Dave Lee was like, "Here's Ryan with his predetermination shit." Like, but I'm really trying to root this out because I think it's really fundamental. I think there's a reason why Robert Jordan wrote this story about Rand. I think it's not just another turning of the wheel. I think Rand was able to, through dint of will, through good parentage, through so many factors, through his friendships with strong people, like he was able to transcend like the humanity and become like Bodhisattva Rand, where he's like growing trees and shit and healing people. And at that point, he was like full acceptance.
I will say one particular thing about Rand that is kind of a little bit independent of how's like the entire world from the breaking to the point where Rand fights, like that's one conversation. You can pinpoint a conversation around Rand in particular, and I even put it all the way back to New Spring, where Guittara has the vision, or even further back in history, where Tigraine literally leaves, abandons her entire kingdom, her son that she loved so much, to go to the waste, to this unknown future. And if you look at what was the limited information that she told the Aiel maidens, it was basically like, if you don't go to the waste, the entire world will die. And you have to find the maidens. That's all you have to do. Find the maidens, become a maiden in the spear. That's all you got to do. Nothing about like giving birth or any of that, but all of this like 10, 15, 20 years before he's born.
Yeah, and then
he's already pulling at the string.
And that's my belief. And Tam leaves the Two Rivers for what was it said, to seek adventure.
Layman cuts down the tree to create this world war, essentially, in order to create the situation where Rand is born.
Tam cut down the tree?
Layman cut down the tree.
Okay, no, I was saying Tam specifically that left the Two Rivers.
Yeah, but Tam left because
he needed to go through
adventure,
but he needed to be there at the exact moment to find Rand. Now, my supposition is either Tam knew all along and like went out seeking this, and it was an was like reading the pattern like Moraine does, and saw it was opportunistic, and they said, and then took the baby back to Two Rivers, never let anyone close to him, raised him in isolation, and got him strong. Like that's one way, or is just fucking Tavern, and he is like compelled and had no idea, and all of a sudden he's like, "What? I got a baby in my arms. What do I do?" Right?
Well, Kari was a dreamer. No, sorry. I'm just.
You may say Kari's a dreamer.
Hey, maybe Tam's a dreamer. Like we can't not confirm or deny that there are not men dreamers. Why wouldn't there be? We
know Tam knows the prophecies very well, because in that Raven prologue, he's well educated.
He was in the 100 Companions in Ilion. I've talked with people about this before, that he, I believe, because he was in direct service of the king, would have access to the libraries. He was well educated, which you can tell throughout his entire dialogue. He's an officer in the Ilianer military. Officers are expected to be educated about just life, the world, like.
Yeah, but the prophecy of the dragon specifically, though, you might be educated in warfare and tactics and your local history.
Oh, good lord! Like, let me tell you about my education at the Naval Academy. It's not about it.
You're expected to know a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah, you're supposed to, because it's all impactful. So you're expected to know how history is impactful to the current war situation, so you can read the politics, so you can anticipate all that.
So here's a question. So do you think when he's telling these children this storyline, does he know that he's got the dragon? I believe he does.
I think he knows.
I believe he does.
Morgan, what do you think?
I don't think he does. I don't think it would occur to him. I think it's one of those things that people don't think that the last battle, there's all, numerous situations where people have stuff going on where they think that it's obvious, once it comes to light, you're like, that should be obvious, but you're so close to it that you don't see, and I don't think he has any idea.
So do you think it's just Tavern then? Because my supposition that Rand needed Tam all along to be able to.
Tavern? Robert Jordan himself said that the Tavernness doesn't kick in until about the time that Moraine comes to the Two Rivers. So
That's
the first
fucking bullshit.
18 years of Rand's life.
Rand? Even for Rand?
Even for Rand?
Even for Rand.
Then it's all predeterminism.
And then once they hit 18, there was weddings everywhere, and there was people falling out of apple trees.
Because my God, if you think about all the factors, everything from Loyal leaving the setting, and all of a sudden, 3 years later, he finds Rand. If I was told when I met this community to think everything is on purpose, there are no coincidences. So I've been analyzing this with that in mind, and it's telling me that there are no coincidences. It's not happenstance that Loyal was in Cairhien.
I think making it an absolute like that is false. Saying that there's no coincidences.
I think it's bold.
Yeah, I think it's completely overstated, and that actually takes away all of the free will, and why the fuck are we reading the book if there's absolutely no coincidences? And actually, there's in the chapter before what we're reading right now, the wise ones did not see Matt coming.
Yeah.
And there were also
Orlan.
There was a lot of variability. So the fact that people think that there are absolutes, there are absolutely some absolutes, but the fact that everything is absolute is a falsehood.
Well, and it also could be that whether they came or not didn't affect the pattern. So they are just bit characters in whatever the dream was.
Well,
involved.
And even Moraine, when she goes to the rings, she sees all these possible futures. And as she gets closer and closer, things just become more clear because she's forgotten a lot of the possibilities. So as she gets closer and closer to her and Lanfear's encounter, it becomes clear that is the route. And she just really starts stealing herself and resolving herself. But there's multiple instances, I think, that say the exact opposite, that there are no coincidences, that everything's predetermined.
Yeah.
No offense, my friends, bull fucking shit.
Well, to try to tie this back a bit, I do not agree with Ryan if he thinks that Matt was predetermined to visit these two doorways. I think he was advised to when he went through the first one.
Well, he wasn't advised.
Go to Rhuidean.
He was just told, gamblers. And again, it's so vague. It's just go to Rhuidean.
Yeah.
He probably didn't even have to cross through the mist if he didn't want to. I think that would be sufficient to. But he was sticking to Rand because he's just going.
So let's. Go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, but like again, though, he got the Ashandiara, whatever, and he got his and he got his medallion, and those were instrumental. And
the memories. Don't forget the memories.
Yeah, and the memories. Which do you think when he complained about the needles in his brain, was that like the process?
Gap? Yeah.
Was that the process of like his brain getting like fused? Because it's very specific. He's like, I want healing.
I just always assumed that was him just getting hung. But it's possible.
Like this lack of oxygen.
Yeah, but it's very possible that was him getting this infusion of memories.
So let's talk about these doorways. There are two very similar doorways. Mm-hmm. One with snake people who seem to answer things, and one with fox people that seem to give you things. Fox people, you need to, you're advised to set a price beforehand, but they'll give the price. While it seems like the snake people just orgasm off the saver.
The saver.
God, the
I don't
saver.
know, the Wolfen were pretty like orgasmic when that was in there as well.
All right, yeah, there we go. So let's talk.
That woke up Morgan up.
Have we? Is it determined what the relationship between these two entities are and the two doorways? And let's let Morgan. What as far as like dimensionally, species-wise, do they know each other? Are they in the same house in different rooms?
Yeah, I mean, it's never really described exactly like the levels of the land. I think it's called Sindal. But like when they go through the Tower of Genji, like there's both snakes and foxes there. They have to specifically go to find the foxes because they're the ones holding Moraine, but the snakes are there as well. So it's like an interconnected realm. There's just two separate doors, almost like like there's like an east wing and a west wing or something.
Like why is one all dusty and shit though? Because
one of them has not been used like since the breaking. The foxes, it's been hiding in this the Eilfen have been, their doorway has been in Rhuidean. The Aiel were dragging it around before that. Like they literally have not had visitors since the Age of Legends, whereas the snakes were getting people until 300 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this is great. I fucking love our chat. So Art says Eilfen tell fortunes, the Eilfen make bargains.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Matt has also mentioned the Shadow's prophecy as well. One-eyed fool, and someone mentions that Matt is in the Shanshin prophecy. So Beth says Matt is referencing Shanshin prophecy though.
Oh, Prince of Ravens, maybe.
So we clearly have like a world where like time is accessible and like the vagaries of time and the iterations of time are accessible to certain individuals with powers or maybe they work towards those powers. Maybe they're born with it or maybe they work towards it. Now that I've always wondered what does that mean in terms of like we have this entire story is called The Wheel of Time. Like Robert Jordan seems to be really like obsessed with this idea of what time is for these people. I don't think the showrunners are really getting at the essence of what Robert Jordan is getting at. They seem to be really focused on reincarnation, and I don't think that's truly the essence of what this world believes in. They're not a reincarnation society. They don't believe in the transmigration of souls. They believe in something else, and I think that's very interesting. What is going on with these people now in this book?
You mean besides the fact that there's a dragon reborn? I mean, so there's. I mean.
Yeah, they do.
No, just the nature of like the nature of life and death and time and like. Right,
well,
like
you're saying the wheelbase. I think they are. The books are obsessed with it. Just maybe in a different way. In the show, they do. In that first episode, they do that light ceremony to kind of welcome back their loved ones, and then
the Aiel speech.
Yeah. Thank you. I was like trying to remember her name. Thank you. Aiel speech about like in the next couple of. I think it's much more subtle in the show, or in the books. They kind of shove it in your face in the show. It does exist in the books.
Well, I feel like it's super limited to like Egwene and like Rand and certain characters that are like seem to be direct correlations of historical figures.
Yeah,
like
Brigitte, she comes back.
Yeah, Matt seems to like Matt is carrying on all these like different memories. I think of that as a very specific and functional thing that happens to a few people, but maybe the entire world is just reincarnating over and over again, and certain special people pop up again and again. But random like Days Conger dies, and she just wakes up and she's a fucking Copland as a baby.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I think the whole point is that everybody's reborn again. I think it's just there are certain people who are tied to the wheel, and so they're like the idea of being heroes of the horn and stuff like that. I think that Egwene is probably a hero of the horn, or would be a hero of the horn if she hadn't been born at the time of the last battle. And I think that the same would be true for Rand, except for the point that he exists, since the heroes know him. But being like a specific kind of person where you're reborn and as a soul, where you're tied to the pattern in a way that you kind of hang out in a green room until I run Riyadh during your, between your lives, as opposed to being someone where you're just kind of, recycled. But it's very specific that's how that works. Like they're real specific about that you get reborn.
But like everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, like
everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone gets reborn.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a boring life, even if you've got a shitty life, you get reborn. It's just not noteworthy in the book. It's this shitty character. Gelb has like these 10,000 past lives, but nobody fucking cares.
Who?
Lauren Gelb.
Nice. Okay.
So let's get back to that. Let's get back to the
Morgan, thank you.
Right. We're gonna get away from
I talked about standing on the shoulders of giants, but when those giants insult me, I feel even smaller.
We were just disagreeing with you.
Yeah. It's all right to be wrong.
Is it?
Yeah.
It'll be a first, Dan. It'll be a first.
But let's get back to the to what we were talking about, the doorways and the people. So I think you were trying to talk about like this space outside of Randland. This when you enter the twisted doorway, time does seem to differ a little bit, you can say. Although when Rand came out, Matt had just came out and was choking to death on a tree, which was, fortunate that Rand didn't take a, stop to tie his shoe or something.
Yeah, like go pee in the corner. He's like, oh.
But when we have like the Aelfin and Eilfin, are they? All right, so we have species that have been created, and we like the Nim, like Trollocs, like bad things. Are these? And we also have alien type beings such as Ogier.
Which are not created.
So I think
which are not created.
They're just refugees.
Are you
They're
about to ask
refugees.
if they're human? Because I have an answer that I got from the 13th Depository that references a Dragon Con
Yes.
2005 answer. The answer, or the question was, are Finn from human stock? And he specifically says no.
Okay.
As an answer
Okay.
to that question. So they're not human.
Yeah, my thought is that they are. So what? Who fucking cares about my thought? What are your thoughts? What are these things?
They're fairies.
And where are they?
In the land of fairies.
What is the Tower of Genji?
It's the portal to the land of fairies.
Okay, portal to the land of fairies. All right.
Morgan answered that very successfully.
And they're like in some
Morgan, wait, real quick, Morgan. Is there a way to if you could had advanced technology, could you find the land of fairies without a portal? Could you fly to it?
No.
What the fuck?
Any more than you could fly to one of the portal stone worlds.
Why do they live? So
they're like
not.
Actually, at that same Dragon Con, there was a question: do the Finns inhabit a perpendicular world? He says no, it's a parallel world.
Fuck that.
Yeah, because I'm curious about that because it's sort of like, talking about like Teleron Rhuidean is something that inhabits all of those worlds, but it doesn't sound like you can get into the lands of the Finn. Inside Teleron Rhuidean, like they exist separate from it.
It's like a fourth dimension almost. Like
all
of the parallel worlds exists in sheets, and then the Teleron Rhuidean
encircles everything.
Goes straight through, and then the Finn are kind of up here above.
And it's described as being weirdly folded as well, so it's almost like it's just like this world in between everything. It's like the tower,
like DNA structure.
Well, kind of like the ways, though. Also, right? I mean, where it seems like you're walking backwards and above and doing weird things,
maybe
like
a little
with
bit,
these bridges. Yeah. Is there a correlation?
Yes, that might seem like a good comparison.
But if it's a parallel world, how do they know the future?
Because it's doesn't necessarily follow the same rules of space or time.
Yeah, it's that book thing again.
He never specifies when he's discussing, or he has Varen explaining constants to Egwene. He never specifies, or never has her specify that either space or time are constants in the world of the Wheel of Time. Only the Creator, the Dark One, and Teleron Rhuidean are constants. Never says that any of the other things are.
Wow, that's a fascinating point. I never thought. Oh shit! What does that mean then? If those are the only constants, Teleron Rhuidean and what?
Well,
the Creator and the Dark One.
Well, so we in Teleron Rhuidean, you cannot get to Rhuidean, yet you can get to the Tower of Genji.
You can't go into it. Well, I mean, Birgitta said that you can go into it. You just have a real hard time getting out. So,
But she said it about the physical world, not about.
She said it's hard. It's hard enough to get out of it in the physical world. It's nearly impossible in the world of dreams. Is what
but
she
didn't
says
say how to get into it.
Yeah.
In the world of dreams. So
she says the Tower of Genji is hard enough to leave in the physical world. In the world of dreams, it's almost impossible.
Yeah. So again,
do we ever see
about entering it?
Yeah.
We don't ever see anyone try. I mean, could Perrin in his super dream mode, it's only a weave Egwene mode, be able to enter the tower through the dream world?
They've seen it in the dream world. They just don't attempt to. I'm not sure if the same physical laws would apply, like if you would have to draw the sign to attempt to get in. I mean, it's possible. Morgan, what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think he might be able to think his way inside. He has.
That's a fun question.
Crazy.
Yeah, non-channelers who are dreamwalkers have, in some ways, much better use or much better control over the world of dreams than dreamwalkers who can channel, because they have to be able to think outside the box, and so the flexibility of their thinking in manipulating the world of dreams is much better than people who rely on their channeling ability inside Teleron Rhuidean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So.
but then it traps you somehow in this like weird tangential dimension.
Yeah.
Somehow.
How do we think that the saber? What is the manifestation of the saber?
I'm assuming it's like a real good high.
Yeah. And they're just getting
saber,
fucking blasted. They're like, oh god.
I think it's just like good drugs.
Yeah. Same with you, Leah.
There's something that they feed on about Tavern and its experiences, and there's definitely something more about channelers and Tavern than other people. Of course, we don't see normal plebeian people walk through, but they're definitely, or maybe it's just deprivation at this point. Yeah, like they just haven't savored things in thousands of years.
You can't bring musical instruments. You can't bring instruments of light. You can't bring iron, I guess. Are these things? I don't remember them being explained why these restrictions occurred.
Because they're fairies.
Because they're fairies.
Well, yeah, this all comes to fruition in Towers of Midnight.
It's me gold.
I mean, you're really offending the fairy community, Morgan.
Yeah, Tinkerbell and all her army are flying to your house.
All the old school ways of dealing with fairies is like you have cold iron to bind them, and music today's. It's just.
Go on.
Yeah, it's him reusing old myths. I feel like if the Emmonsfield people were more familiar with lemons, they probably would have had a rule about no lemons either.
Yeah.
Wow. So these are like folkloric, if you hang a lemon around your neck, then the fairies won't get you kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah. They're just
okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of Celtic, Slavic mythology about
interesting. I didn't know
elves and fairies, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Elves and fairies, right? They're
Elves and fairies.
Yep.
Elves and eel fairies.
Elfin.
Since we're talking about these two species, what do we make about the board game? Milton Bradley made a board game.
Really boring, and I admire the adults in Oliver's life having the patience to play it with him over and over again, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really dull game.
It sounds like a lot of like Monopoly, where you just play it forever and nobody really wins and everybody gets mad at the end.
Wow, you brought a controversial topic, Dan.
It's that song, playing solitaire till dawn with a deck of 51.
I love that
There
song.
is no winning. But Oliver wins. I mean, so we won't even get into that shit.
And that's the whole point. Like, and that's literally what Brigida tells Matt, which always made me wonder, like, has Brigida ever actually entered the Tower of Genji?
Yeah.
Well, she suggests that she has some experience there.
Yeah, she tells Matt about it, because he's like, how did you get out? And she's like, I didn't. We died.
Oh, that's right. She did.
Nice. Holy shit. Can you imagine, like, okay, another thing is, like,
hero the horn. You're like,
all of these characters seem to have visceral understandings of what it means to die over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, I watch a movie and like someone dies, I can get empathetic, but like I'm not experiencing it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm dead, or oh my god, my wife's dead.
And that's, Ryan, that's a common theme that is, so when that's the flicker. That is the most horrifying thing, is that everyone experiences death over and over and over and over. We have Brigitte. Brigitte is a conscience of her past lives, because she got tore out of the mainframe and suddenly has and is aware of, like, I died there. I remember that. Matt remembers dying through the generals. Rand remembers dying through the. There's a lot of these reoccurrences of people remembering deaths in their prior lives, which is gross.
Well, but maybe it's like maybe though it character building. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I think for Gita is a special circumstance in the ones that you just mentioned because she's aware of it. I think there's some sort of consent that goes with becoming a hero of the Horn. She remembers it when she's in Tar, but like that's just kind of a natural thing. Like she's gone through tragic death. She's died in her old bed. Like she accepts it when she gets the tragic thing is getting ripped out of Tar, not those deaths.
Right.
For Matt, somebody who didn't ask, well, technically did ask for it, but he didn't know what he was asking for. Just if you want to like pivot to what the Eilfin do, like how they're different than the Eilfin, we can do that after I say this. He didn't mean to ask for all of those memories, specifically all of those deaths. And for somebody who didn't necessarily want to take on that burden, I can't imagine. And Ryan, maybe you guys do this on.
It is a backpack of trauma.
Feeling, yeah, like how like that would be traumatizing. Like not asking for knowing all these deaths.
We've not touched upon it, but that's a fun thought experiment for sure.
Yeah, like again, you could probably relate it to real life, like people who are in like the nursing community or the medical community. Like, yes, maybe you're professionally there, but maybe you just don't realize what it means. Or the military community or firefighters. Yeah. There's like so many communities that do service that experience death on a daily basis, and like sometimes even though you like consent to go into those fields, you just don't know.
Yeah.
What the fuck
and even those odd experiences where someone's like, oh, I died on the table and I saw my body and now I have just serenity. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. Throw the penis. Because when I died on the table, I had a Toman head. That's super interesting, and I think that examination of trauma. I mean, we see that Matt is uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. No, I kind of wish Robert Jordan would have.
That's why I'm kicking up to Ryan, or I guess I'm gonna go the other way.
Yeah. Whoop.
There you go. Ryan.
Speaking of which, like and subscribe.
Yeah, and Christine and Mickey, because they are the professionals to talk about that. That is not me.
Yeah,
guys, and that's it.
Guys, how do the Aiel have so many members? Why are they so prolific? They
no
have
birth
like
control.
Million. They have there's like a million of them, aren't there?
No birth control.
Because tents and sweat tents, and
they use like calf udders.
And also,
but there's only so much food.
There's just no shame. They're like, you know what? Whatever. Let's fuck.
But should there be so many of them? I was shocked by the hundreds of thousands that showed up.
What is happening, Dan?
What? No. I think that it's a harsh land. I think that probably 1 in 4 babies don't make it.
Actually, they're probably honestly not any different than other cultures at that time, but also because they understand a little bit more than the wetlanders that, you know what, you might not survive till tomorrow, so let's enjoy tonight.
Yep. It's cold tonight, yeah.
That makes sense.
Beautiful. Well, Dan, let's wrap this bad boy up in a present and put a bow on it. It's been a great conversation.
I agree.
We are at 2.5 hours roughly, and could be happier with what we. So yeah, this has been the first time we've gone to Tavern Talk for, I guess, 12 weeks, and
wow, that's been
I'm super happy.
That's like not even this year.
It's nuts.
That's December.
It's nuts. But we're happy to get back into books, and we're happy to continue to bring you guys luminaries of the field who are going to correct us and make us smarter, because we are dumb. We have good questions, but we lack, the gravitas to really research. All right.
Yeah, no. We just like having smart people on and have smart conversations. I think this was a really smart conversation, and I wish my internet wasn't bouncing out because I was really enjoying shit. And
you've been on for like a good steady, I don't know, 30 minutes or something.
Yeah. I reset it. I pushed the reset button for 15 seconds. I had to get like a little stick to stick in the little thing to hit the reset button.
That's what she said.
Your finger not firm enough to.
Hey,
yeah. He's got flimsy little flabby fingers.
It's the motion in the ocean, you know.
Well, but also, like, the 4 fingers together, so maybe it just wasn't small enough to press.
Yeah. But we got it. Hopefully, we got it straightened out.
Oh my God! 4-finger blast. Way to end the show.
Leigh-a, the Roofmistress, thank you for joining us. The Threefolds Talk and the Road to Rhuidean.
Return to Roshar. I had to think first.
Return to Roshar. All right. Check them out. The Threefolds Talk is on YouTube on the Malkier Talks channel. Go ahead and subscribe to that and hit the bell so you know every time that Leigh-a is on. And the what is it? The Road to Roshar?
Return to Roshar.
Return to Roshar. God dang it. That is
We're
in
still
podcast
new.
form.
We're still new. Don't worry about it. We've only got a couple episodes that are out.
Return to Roshar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not hard, Dan.
There's no D at the end.
Return to Roshar. It is.
No, Roshar.
Roshart. All right.
So that's a podcast. Go check them out everywhere podcasts are. Podcast of the Dragon, as I said, it's one of my favorites of all time. I listen to it. I listen to you and Dan Carlin. I fall asleep to both of you.
I modeled my podcast after Dan Carlin, so that makes me feel even better.
Yeah,
they're my best. They're my favorite. And I do a Dan Carlin impersonation that we were almost going to bust out today because we were doing history stuff, and we
couldn't thread it in.
And so what do you do? So anyways.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'm very glad. So everyone, Podcast of the Dragon, everywhere you find podcasts, and also on YouTube now. Yes. So look on YouTube as well. So everyone, thank you guys for joining us. You didn't know it had been over 3 months. You didn't know the pressure that was applied. Oh, okay.
There we go. That's
all
amazing.
I didn't realize this was the first one back. But
oh yeah,
we didn't
it's been
either.
A while.
We were surprised ourselves.
It has been a while. We've been busy. All right, so I'm Ryan's brother Dan,
and I am Ryan. This has been Tavern Talk. Come tune in next week. We will have more luminaries from the field. We'll see you guys later.
I love you and I'm proud of you. Go get to reading, you filthy animals.
And remember to run for your lives. This is